This is Jennifer Gonzalez welcoming you to episode 19 of the Cult of Pedagogy podcast. In this episode, we are going to talk about goal setting for teachers. Hey, thanks for joining me. I am just so grateful to have you here. Every time I see that somebody has downloaded the podcast, I'm just excited. So I'm a big podcast listener myself, and I just know personally how much I've learned from listening to podcasts. So I'm just excited that you're here. If you are a fan, if you've been listening for a while and you want to help me out, go on over to iTunes and give me a rating and a review if you've got the time. The more a podcast has reviews and ratings, the more iTunes will put it out in front of more people. So that will help me reach more people with this podcast. So thank you so much. Also, I'm going to be mentioning a lot of resources in this episode. Don't feel like you have to write anything down. All you need to do is go to Cult of Pedagogy, click on podcasts, go to episode 19, and there will be links to everything that I mentioned here. All the articles or books or anything like that. All the links are going to be in the episode. So one of the things I love about teaching is that the list of ways you can improve is a mile long. It really just never gets boring. But because the work of a teacher has so many dimensions, it is really easy to get overwhelmed because you can't possibly do it all at once. So instead of trying to tackle everything all at one time, I recommend you just pick one thing to improve at a time. Consider an upcoming time frame when you'll be away from your regular teaching duties. This could be summer break or spring break, maybe even a sabbatical, and then decide how much of that time you actually want to focus on some sort of a self-improvement goal, because you might just want to catch up on your DVR or do some traveling or some other kind of recreational activity. But if you do want to set aside some time to improve your practice, just pick one thing and focus on that. I have a tool that can help you determine maybe what your main thing should be. It is a reflection exercise. I called it the Gut Level Teacher Reflection. I created it about a year ago in 2014. And it's just basically a way of sort of thinking through all of the different areas of your practice and figuring out which ones give you the most anxiety. And that really kind of helps you to figure out what changes are going to make the biggest difference for you. So there's a link to that on the episode 19 post. And so that would be a great starting point to figure out where you need to be heading to really improve your practice. So go ahead and take that. And then once you've decided on some key areas for improvement, it's time to set your goal. So to help you, I've put together a list of 8 possible paths you might take towards self-improvement as a teacher. Are you ready? Here we go. The first one, number 1, is strengthen your tech skills. I don't know anyone who doesn't have some room for growth with technology. But it is one thing to say you're going to get better at technology and quite another to take deliberate action to improve your skills. So here are some things that you might do to improve your technology skills. One would be to become a Google educator. Now, this is something I just recently learned about, and it's something I'm actually going to do sometime in the near future. It's basically just an online certification that says this person knows Google tools pretty well. They offer a whole bunch of sort of free online courses, and these are just little courses that you kind of click through on your own. They're just little self-paced courses. And then these all lead you to these 5 online exams. 4 of the exams are based on your knowledge of Google Apps for education, and these are Google Docs and Drive, Google Sites, Google Calendar, and Gmail. And then you take a 5th exam that they have a bunch of different options. Like you can take the exam on Chromebooks or the exam about Google Chrome, and there's a few other ones. And then if you pass all of these exams, you get a little stamp that says you're a Google educator. It's a way of sort of formalizing learning as opposed to just saying, oh, I'm just going to play around and get better with technology. It's a way of kind of formalizing one aspect of your personal training. So I provided a link to how do you actually find out about that. And that's actually a step toward a bigger certification, which is a Google certified teacher. And that's a bigger deal. You actually have to travel to this face-to-face training, and they only choose a few people every year to do it. And I'd love to get to that point someday, but Google Educator is something you can just do from home online. So that would be a really good first step, especially if you are getting familiar with and comfortable with all of Google's different tools. Another step you could take would be to take my course, which is called Jumpstart. And Jumpstart is a course that goes along with a book that I wrote earlier this year called The Teacher's Guide to Tech. Now, let me explain what the guide is first. The guide is just a big 210-page manual that covers 100 different technology tools. And I break them all down into different categories and explain them and show you how you can use them in the classroom. But the problem with that book is that even though it's a really great reference tool, it doesn't necessarily give you a path for learning about technology. It's just got all the information that you need in one place. So to help people who want to know, well, where do I even start? I created this course, and I actually designed it I modeled it right off of the same way that I learned technology. I used to just be your basic Microsoft Word, Facebook, PowerPoint, email user. And when I started taking educational technology courses, I was taught in a certain way. Like, one of the things we had to do was create our own little website, and that was how we sort of turned in our assignments, was to put them up on our websites. And so I kind of based this course on that same system. Anyway, it's a self-paced course, and to find the course or the guide, just go to teachersguidetotech.com. And you can find all kinds of information on how you can get the course. And that you can do at any time of year, and you can just decide, I'm going to just move ahead and do this, and that would be another option. So a third option, much less formal and much sort of easier, would be for improving your technology, would be to attend an unconference. An unconference is a professional development conference that is run completely by teachers. It's a total grassroots, like, people just get up and present things, and they're great. I went to my first one last year, and I just thought it was such a great idea, so comfortable, and it would be a really good way to get exposed to new kinds of technology without there being a whole lot of pressure. So Unconference is sort of the generic name for these types of conferences. Two names that they often go by are EdCamp, EDCAMP, or Teach Meet. That's all one word. So look around for one of those, an EdCamp or Teach Meet, and just go. It's just like super low pressure, and it's a great way to just be exposed to a lot of different kinds of technology tools without having to like take a class or do anything really formalized. Okay, so path number 1 is improve your technology skills. Path number 2 would be brush up on your pedagogy. No matter how long a person has been teaching, there is always room for pedagogical improvement. Whether you're learning new theories, brushing up on the basics, or just adding a new technique to your arsenal, improving the way you actually teach should be a recurring feature on every teacher's to-do list. So here's a couple ways you can do that. One would be to just add a couple of new teaching strategies to what you're already doing. One way to learn one fast would be to take a look at my collection of instructional strategy videos, where I demonstrate techniques like concept attainment, reciprocal learning, the jigsaw strategy, and a whole bunch of others. Just go to the video section of the Cult of Pedagogy website, and you will find a whole library of strategy videos. Another way to brush up on your pedagogy would be to learn more about learning. This is more about sort of learning theory. And I'm actually doing a book club this summer. I would love for you to join me. We're reading a book called Make It Stick: The Science of Successful Learning by Peter Brown, Henry Roediger, and Mark McDaniel. This book digs into new research about the way people learn and why so many of the things we do in education just doesn't work, or just don't work. These things don't work. The deadline to have it read so that you can participate in the conversation would be July 15th. If you are listening to this after that, just go to the book section of Cult of Pedagogy and you will see a post on it. So we're going to be reading that this summer. Another way to improve your pedagogy is to improve your differentiation. If you are like most teachers, you think that you could be doing a better job at differentiating instruction. A while back, I put together a starter kit for differentiated instruction, and it is a collection of articles, videos, documents, and tools that'll help you improve in this area. So I've got a link to that on this post also. So the first two paths are strengthen your tech skills Number 2, brush up on your pedagogy. Number 3 would be to improve your classroom management. This is another area everybody can improve on. If your class isn't run well and your students aren't as focused as you want them to be, then it's pretty hard to get anything else done. So you can attack this issue from a lot of different angles. Here are some suggestions. One would be to do a book study. You could choose something really practical like Harry and Rosemary Wong's book, The First Days of School, or Robert Marzano's book, Classroom Management That Works. Or you could go with something a little bit more holistic that focuses on like communication or relationship building. I've got 2 recommendations for this. One is one of my favorite teaching books ever. It's called How to Talk So Kids Can Learn. It is by Adele Faber and Elaine Maslish. And it's just such a great guide to adjusting the way you talk to kids and how you get completely different results depending on the words you choose to communicate things. Another option would be a book called You've Gotta Connect, which is by James Sturdivant, who has actually become a pretty good friend of mine now. And it's just about building relationships with your students and all the different ways that you can do that and how that can really be a foundation for much better classroom management. Another way to improve classroom management, if reading a book is not really something you want to do, would be to take an online course. I can recommend 2. One is for teachers of elementary students. It is called the Proactive Behavior Management Webinar, and this is created by Angela Watson, whose blog is The Cornerstone for Teachers. And then another is for older kids. It's Classroom Management 101, and this was created by Linda Cardemus, who runs the Teach for the Heart blog. So these are 2 former teachers who basically do what I do. They've got websites for teachers, websites to help teachers. So both of these are just really affordable online self-paced courses that you can take, lots of video and downloadable stuff to kind of help you get classroom management under control. So those would both be another good option. Okay, the 4th path you could take is completely different from all of those others, and this is get more politically active. If you have become really frustrated with all the policies and all of the changes in education that you feel have negatively impacted you and your students, it might be time for you to start taking more action. In the last podcast episode I did, episode 18, I interviewed Anthony Cody, who is an education activist, and we talked about all the ways that teachers can get more involved in educational activism. After talking with him, I also put together something I called an Education Activist Starter Kit, which is a comprehensive list of resources. It's a list of websites and books and all kinds of things that if somebody's decided it's time for me to get more involved, this would be a place to start learning how you actually do it and learning more about the issues. Another way to get more politically active, and this is something I would recommend, to anyone, is find a group of like-minded people in your area, in your district, or, somewhere nearby, so that you can learn together and you can start to participate more in some activist activities together. I think it's just really important to not act alone. That's actually one of the pieces of advice that Anthony Cody gave to teachers, is that you not act alone. Because there's risks of, losing your job and that sort of thing. So the more people you can gather with you when you're taking action, the better off you'll be. So that is path number 4. Now the 5th path is also completely different, which is to adjust your mindset. One of the most significant improvements you can make to your teaching is changing the way you think about it. Mindset has a really powerful impact on how you experience your work and whether or not you continue to grow and thrive in it. So here are some ways that you can systematically work toward developing a healthier mindset toward your teaching. One would be to read a teacher mindset book. I would recommend, and mentioning Angela Watson again, her book, Awakened, Change Your Mind to Transform Your Teaching. She's also got a new book called Unshakable, 20 Ways to Enjoy Teaching Every Day, No Matter What. Now, reading either one of these books, I'd definitely start with Awakened, though. It really makes a big difference in the way you experience your work, and you're just going to find that you have a happier, healthier attitude toward it. A way to reinforce the principles that you learn in either of these books would be to create a support group with other teachers who also want to make the same kinds of changes in their own mindset. And then another direction that you could take in terms of mindset shift would be to start to build a mindfulness practice into your regular routine. This will help you to reduce stress, feel more purposeful, and actually become more productive. I have another book recommendation for this. This is by Meena Srinivasan, and the book is called Teach, Breathe, Learn: Mindfulness in and Out of the Classroom. In this book, she talks about the value of mindfulness practice for teachers, and the book also has a mindfulness curriculum that you can use with students. So far, we've talked about number 1, strengthen your tech skills. Path number 2, brush up on your pedagogy. Number 3, improve your classroom management. 4, get more politically active. 5, adjust your mindset. And then the 6th possible path you could take, this is a lot simpler. It is to freshen up your slide presentations. You probably, like most people, use PowerPoint or Keynote to create slide presentations for some purpose, whether it is for your own classroom, for your students, for lessons, or you do them in other things, whether it's in grad school or you do it in PD presentations. But most of us have to create slideshows for something. But based on what I've seen, most people are not familiar with best practices for slide creation, and that means that we are all sitting through a lot of really hideous, ineffective slideshows. To start improving yours, I would strongly recommend you get a copy of Gar Reynolds' book, Presentation Zen: Simple Ideas on Presentation Design and Delivery. I actually reviewed this on my site. The blog post is actually called The Cure for Bad PowerPoint. But if you get the book, even just by reading a few chapters, you're going to start to understand exactly what needs to change about your slideshows, and you will really be motivated to fix them. I gave the book to my sister a few years ago, and she just spent the summer. She said, I'm just changing all of my PowerPoints. But then she was really happy with them. And it's funny because she and I can both tell the second we see somebody's slideshow start whether or not they've read that book. So that would be a fantastic task to set for yourself for an upcoming break. Path number 7 is definitely a bigger deal than just fixing your slideshows. It is take the first step toward national board certification. This is only for United States listeners. I have tried to figure out what the equivalent is in Canada and in Ireland and Australia and the UK, and I have not yet been able to figure that out. So if you know, and you can come on over to my website and tell me, or tell me on Twitter or on Facebook, please tell me, because this program is so wonderful, and I really wish there was something like it in lots of other countries. I'm just not aware of whether there is. But if you are in the US, listen to this one. Becoming a national board certified teacher was the best professional decision I have ever made. It had the most significant impact on the quality of my teaching. And even though I've grown in a lot of ways since my initial certification in 2004, I can still see a few key moments during that process as major turning points in the way I view my work. It raised my expectations for myself, and it drastically changed the way I measure the quality of my teaching. So if you want to learn more, you can start by reading my post about National Board Certification. It's just called Conquering National Board Certification and Why It's Totally Worth It. And then from that post, there are a lot of other links to, official places, the National Board's website, where you can find out a lot more about how to get started. All right, the last path. Get organized. And I left this one for the end because my guess is that this is one of the most common goals for everyone. If organization is your issue, the first tip I can give you for getting more organized is to narrow down that goal to something more specific. Do you want to manage your time better? Do you want to organize your digital files? Do you want to pull together all the pieces of little projects that you have going on? Pick something a little bit more specific and then deal with that, and then you can move on to something else. If you just say get organized, it's never going to happen. Okay, so here are some tools that can get you started. To organize your time, try Google Calendar. I just switched to this year. I kept trying to manage paper planners, and it just wasn't working. So I finally tried Google Calendar. I did a little bit of online training, and now I keep all of my important events and daily tasks and birthdays and everything on it. Any appointments or anything. And what's nice is that it's synced with my phone. So I have the same reminders are on my computer and when I'm on the go too. So it's just a really nice system. It works so well. To organize your digital files, you might consider using a cloud-based storage platform like Dropbox or Google Drive. If you have not yet moved to cloud storage for your documents, maybe this is the year that you do it, because it makes a huge difference, not just in terms of convenience. It's really nice to be able to get to these things from wherever you are, but also for the security, to know that if something goes wrong with your computer, your laptop, to know that these files are stored someplace else, it's great. I just recently had an incident with a friend where a computer was stolen from a place that we both go, and he was talking about how if somebody could steal his computer and it wouldn't matter one bit, because he said all of his stuff is stored in a cloud-based system. And I thought that must be a great feeling. I'm kind of halfway there right now, but that would be a way to get your digital files organized. To organize your projects, bigger, multifaceted projects, try a note-taking tool like Evernote. It can really help you keep all the pieces in one place. And a lot of these tools are things that I actually reviewed quite a bit in the Teacher's Guide to Tech. I give you links to places where you can learn more about them and that kind of thing. But Evernote is sort of like a binder online where you can clip things from the internet, and you can take notes and put things into folders. And it's just, it's a nice little system once you get used to it. Now, these three things I just talked about, I'm actually going to start a series on Cult of Pedagogy over the next couple of months. It's going to be called Teacher Organize Thyself, and I'm going to be giving little tutorials on all of these little tools, showing you how to organize your time, your files, your projects, and I'm going to demonstrate with these tools. So look out for those, and I will actually be putting links in this blog post that goes along with this podcast episode too. Now, the one thing I'm not doing a tutorial on, at least not anytime soon, is how to get your classroom in order. And I know lots and lots of teachers need help with that. The reason I'm not doing anything on that anytime soon is because some other people out there are already doing a fabulous job with it. The first place I would recommend you go is a website called the Clutter-Free Classroom. When you go there, you're going to find just a mind-boggling amount of great resources. Basically, she just breaks down every possible aspect of a classroom, everything from how to organize your dry erase markers to how to manage all of the paperwork, just everything. Just go. The Clutter-Free Classroom. And so if that's your issue, that would be a really, really good place to start. So those are your 8 paths. Obviously, there are other places that are other paths that you could choose too. I realized when I was finishing putting this together that I completely neglected to mention building your content area knowledge, which is another direction that you can go to improve as a teacher. What I would love for you to do is to come on over to Cult of Pedagogy, come to the blog post that is linked to this episode, episode 19, and tell me about goal setting for you. I would love to hear about a past goal that you set for yourself that worked out or maybe flopped miserably, or even a future goal that you have for yourself. But I think the more teachers hear about each other's goal setting, it kind of lights a fire for everybody who learns about it, and it inspires people to set their own. So come on over and share, and come on over and just explore the site. I basically have devoted my life to making your job easier for you and making it richer and more enjoyable and more impactful. So come on over to cultofpedagogy.com. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.